My name is Maddie Boardman, and I'm a solution-focused hypnotherapist at Old Town Hypnotherapy in Swindon, and we work in Cheltenham and online. Today I'm going to be talking about the teenage brain. The reason I'm going to focus on the teenage brain is because increasingly in clinic we are seeing teens, concerned parents booking their teenagers in for treatment. And a teenage brain is remarkably different to a fully developed adult brain. And when we're talking teenagers, we're talking 13 to 17 years. These differences mean we have to adapt our clinical approach accordingly. We know that dramatic changes are happening in a teenage brain, along with all the physical, emotional, social changes young people are likely to be facing during this stage in their lives. And all of this results in a vulnerability for mental health disorders. The National Institute of Mental Health have said that almost 1/3 of teens are suffering from some form of anxiety disorder. We've been learning more and more about brain development during the teenage years, and today I'm going to focus on 3 differences that a teenage brain has compared with an adult brain. The next blog that I do is going to be how you can support your child through these years. So the 3 differences. The first one is a period of remodelling. So as you're probably fully aware, the brain of a young child grows at an exponential rate up until they reach about 6, where it's roughly 90 to 95% the size of an adult brain, but absolutely not functioning like an adult brain at that stage. It has been so busy soaking up and learning absolutely everything about the world around it. And it's now entering a phase of remodelling and what is called pruning, where instead of generalised learning about the whole entire world, it begins to specialise and passions just start to emerge. And this pruning, remodelling, accelerates intensively during adolescence, and it doesn't actually stop until the child reaches their mid-20s. The teen brain advantage is its level of plasticity, which means that it is absolutely primed to change, adapt and respond to its environment. Teenagers can learn and memorise things incredibly quickly, and this heightened learning is a huge opportunity. Given the right conditions, they can achieve spectacular things that can alter their future paths by developing lifelong interests and skills. But for the teen and for their carers, this constantly changing brain can be confusing to keep up with. We often talk about growing pains as the body physically grows, but there's also a period of neural growing pains as the brain rapidly changes. Second difference, big one, prefrontal cortex development. It doesn't matter how well a teen is performing academically, how high their IQ is, how many sporting trophies they've got. Good judgment is just something they have not developed yet. We know that very intelligent teenagers will do very silly things in very impulsive ways and probably be unable to explain why they did that. The connections in their rational, logical prefrontal cortex are not fully developed until around 25 years old. The prefrontal cortex is one of the part of the brain that is pivotal for thinking ahead, analysing risks, weighing up long-term consequences and planning. A teenager's brain, with its half-built prefrontal cortex connections, often bypasses this very thorough analytical thought process and defaults to the amygdala to help navigate their life. Now, the amygdala we often refer to in clinic as the primitive part of our brain, the emotional part of the brain. Its job is to detect threat and keep us alive by activating our instinctual flight, anxiety, fight, anger, or freeze, low mood responses. It does an excellent job at keeping us alive, but it is much less equipped to make good decisions about daily life. Adults use their beautifully formed prefrontal cortex to chaperone the amygdala, so they have a safety net around impulsive behaviour, such as aggression or emotional outbursts. A teenage brain has a prefrontal cortex that just isn't up to speed yet, so they struggle to control their emotions or to use their judgment to recognise when it really is time to stop now. Without a fully functioning prefrontal cortex, teens may understand that something is dangerous but engage in the risky behaviour anyway. As an example, if you sat your teen down and asked a hypothetical question, if you asked them whether they would get into a car with a driver who was drunk, they would more than likely know the right answer here and say no. Their slow prefrontal cortex has the time in that situation to develop the correct response because they're in a calm environment. But when they're out with their mates in a heightened, emotional, excitable state, they're much more developed amygdala, which it actually rewards risky behaviour. It's part of the limbic system. It rewards our risky behaviour and encourages impulsiveness. We'll get there first, and they might start making some bad decisions. Taking risks during adolescence is absolutely normal, and it's necessary. They're learning all about themselves, their capabilities, they're learning about their vulnerabilities. And when an adult asks a teen, when they've done something stupid, what on earth were you thinking? The answer is probably absolutely nothing. They were feeling. The third difference we're going to talk about is sleep. And we all know about teenagers that they are notoriously difficult to get out of bed in the morning, and that at weekends, when they've got the opportunity, they sleep until 11 o'clock in the middle of the day somewhere. And there's a reason for this, a biological reason for this, because from puberty, there are significant shifts in a teenager's circadian rhythm. And the circadian rhythm is our body's internal clock. And the teen's internal clock becomes completely reprogrammed, out of sync with the world that they actually inhabit. On average, a teen's circadian clock is 3 to 4 hours later than the average adult. So they generally don't feel tired until nearer midnight. However, their fast-growing brains, doing a lot of work up there, still need as much sleep as they did when they were younger. Children need 9 to 10 hours of sleep, and teenagers still fall into that category. So this is really quite a problem because they're not getting that. They have to wake up for school. These children are functioning with a brain that is still under construction, but they are seriously sleep deprived too. This chronic sleep deprivation is not helping them think clearly about anything. We all know how difficult it is to remain rational when we're tired. And these kids, they're meant to be learning, a process that is chemically impaired in a sleep-deprived state. Research published in Frontiers in Human Neuroscience in December 2017 found that student absence dropped by 50% when they had a 10 a.m. school start, which is significant. In fact, it has been debated in the House of Commons, I believe, the idea of having this later school start for secondary pupils. But one of the arguments against rolling out this 10 a.m. start for teens is that they can't promise they'll be using it for sleeping. With their biologically impaired reasoning and their impulsiveness, they might just spend an extra hour gaming instead of getting to bed a bit earlier. So there we have it. Teens are busy remodeling and building their brains while they're sleep deprived, and the part that is fully formed encourages all the wrong things. Mood swings and impulsiveness actually indicate very normal brain development. And in the next post, I'll be describing 3 things we can do as adults to support teens through this period of change and to help ourselves to cope with it. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.